All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I now call to order the regular meeting of the Palm Desert City Council, the successor agency to the Palm Desert Redevelopment Agency, the Palm Desert Housing Authority, and the Palm Desert Board of Library Trustees for Thursday, April 23rd, 2026. And may we please have a roll call?
Councilmember Harnick.
Here.
Councilmember Moreno.
Present.
And Councilmember...
Virtually from Sacramento for League of City Business.
I don't think
and there is nobody... I'm sorry, let's try this.
We can hear.
Can you hear me? Is this any better?
Yeah.
Okay, I am present from Sacramento on city business with the League of Cities.
Great. And is there anyone over the age of 18 in your room?
No, I am alone.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
Councilmember Nestedi?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Perdetto?
Here.
Mayor Truby?
Here.
All councils present.
Perfect. And I will now ask Councilmember Nestandi to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes. Please join me as we honor our country and our flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, and I'll now ask Councilmember Harnick to give us words of inspiration.
Well, thank you. This is a quote from Jane Goodall, the British primatologist and conservationist, and who we lost last year. And she says, "What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make."
I love that. Thank you, Councilmember Harnick. Great report from closed session from our city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. We have no reportable action from today's closed session.
Terrific. And we now move on to item 9, awards, presentations, and appointments. 9A, a proclamation of Municipal Clerks Week. And I'm going to read it. All right, there we go. This is more like it. Everybody stand. This is better. I missed this with finance. Good. Okay, very good. Municipal Clerks Week, here we are. What a lovely crew. Whereas the City Clerk's Office serves as a cornerstone of transparent and accessible local government, ensuring that the actions of the Palm Desert City Council are conducted openly, recorded accurately, and preserved as part of the city's legislative history. And whereas the Palm Desert City Clerk's Office supports the democratic process by preparing and managing city council agendas and minutes, administering municipal elections, maintaining the city's official records, and ensuring compliance with laws that safeguard the public's right to observe and participate in government. And whereas the City Clerk's Office serves as a welcoming point of contact for residents seeking to engage with their local government, providing personalized assistance, thoughtful communication, and responsive service to individuals navigating city programs, elections, boards and commissions, and city council processes. And whereas the City Clerk's Office also provides essential support to the mayor, the city council, and the city organization through legislative coordination, constituent services, staff onboarding, and the organization of major initiatives such as city council goal setting and strategic planning. And whereas the employees of the Palm Desert City Clerk's Office exemplify the spirit of Team Palm Desert, demonstrating professionalism, accountability, attention to detail, and a shared commitment to exceptional customer service, while ensuring that the city's democratic processes operate with integrity and transparency in service to the community. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Evan Truby, Mayor of the City of Palm Desert, California, on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim the week of May 3rd to May 9th, 2026 as, in big bold letters, Municipal Clerks Week, and encourage residents to recognize and appreciate the dedicated public servants of the Palm Desert City Clerk's Office for their vital contribution to responsive, transparent, and effective local government. I agree with every single word herein, and they've been awesome, terrific, wonderful to work with. It is absolutely a pleasure and make my life very, very easy. I think I speak for all of us here. So thank you. I think Michelle, want to say a word?
Thank you. On behalf of the city clerk team, thank you for this recognition. We are truly appreciative of the support of city council, our colleagues, the city manager, and everyone we work with, all of the residents. Fun fact, the city clerk's office is often called the keeper of the record, but we wear many hats, from facilitating elections to managing public meetings and preserving important documents for future generations. Thank you.
Yeah, how about that?
Did they mean that?
What kind of, oh,
Did you say let's wear black tomorrow?
terrific. All right, let's do the photo thing. Okay. Item 9B is Palm Springs International Airport Commission update. It is being continued to a date uncertain. So we move on to item number 10, city manager comments.
Mayor, I'll invite up Lieutenant Porras for a quick update.
Good afternoon, everyone. April is National Distracted Driving Awareness Month, and Riverside County Sheriff's Office is reminding drivers to stay focused behind the wheel. Keeping your eyes on the road and hands on the wheel is critical to preventing crashes and saving lives. Distractions such as checking your phone, using in-dash dash systems, adjusting the radio, or eating can have serious consequences and even devastating consequences. This past month, we've been out there actively enforcing California hands-free laws. Drivers are prohibited from holding a phone or an electronic device while operating a vehicle, even while stopped at a red light. This includes talking, texting, or using apps. Violations result in fines, and a second offense within 36 months can add a point to your driver's record. So if you do use your phone, make sure it's in a cradle, and remember, one swipe, but you can also put your phone away, plan ahead, stay attentive, and set an example if somebody you're riding with is using the phone, and say something about it. And of course, pull over if it's an emergency, so if you need to handle any issues. This funding for this distracted driving enforcement is provided by a grant from the California Office of Traffic Safety and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. And the last thing I want to do is talking to my Cal Fire partners. It's a reminder we're getting into the heat of the summer and starting in May, but this morning we did have a hiker that needed some assistance that was dehydrated. So as we get more visitors throughout the summer months, please remember to plan ahead if you decide to hike. Make sure you are adequately prepared. Do not attempt to hike if you don't know the area, and take precautions for emergencies and ensure for a safe outdoor experience. Making sure you're having water, know the trails that you're going on, and always don't hike alone, and always tell somebody where you're going if you do plan to hike alone. But it's something that we always encounter every summer, and unfortunately, this person was from out of the area. That came from outside the area, decided to take a hike, but fortunately, they were okay after they were hydrated, and off they went. So, thank you very much. That's all I have for today.
Anything else?
Nothing additional.
Terrific. Okay. We will now move on to item number 11. Sorry, Mayor and Councilmember reports and requests for action. We'll start with Councilmember Nastandi.
No comments this evening. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, Councilmember Hornick.
Thank you. I wanted to remind everybody this week, which is April 19th through 25th, it's National Crime Victims' Rights Week. And we had an observance recognizing victims and their family at Civic Center Park this week. And we tend to focus on the criminal and the crime as well we should, but the victims and their families, their friends, we always have to make sure we're supporting them. They deserve the support, and they need the support. And this is an opportunity to hear people's loved ones, people they lost, to crime. And it's well done. It's done by Mike Hestron by the Riverside District Attorney's Office. It's very meaningful, and it means a lot to many, many people. The park was filled with people who are members of families or friends of victims. And it's wonderful that they do it to remind us how important it is to support each other in these times. We had the Southern California Association of Government Scholarship work this week, and it was difficult. You can imagine finding students from across the Southern California Association of Government, SCAG, the SCAG region. And these students are amazing, and they certainly give us hope for the future. To say that, well, gee, they got a 4.0, so we want to give them the scholarship, that's kind of like the base. These are amazing young students, and it was a privilege to be part of that process. Also, Palm Desert Arbor Day, or it was Arbor Day, and in Palm Desert, we went to Ronald Reagan Elementary, and it was wonderful to see the students there participating, hearing about how important trees are. They all got to take a tree home, and they were delighted. They helped plant trees, and we had a lot of our partners from the Living Desert to the CSU PD, CSUSB PDC, Palm Desert campus, was there, and many other partners, and they made a difference. And those students left there, they were filled with joy, and it was a great experience for them. Yesterday was Earth Day. You could have taken the train, especially if we had one that came here, but we don't. But I did go into San Bernardino, and I took the train from San Bernardino into LA. I had work to do there, so I had a free ride on our Metro, which is our subway in Los Angeles, and a free ride on Metrolink, which is our train. And who knows, maybe one day we'll get that train out here. But meanwhile, the legislation that would have allowed us to not go through the CEQA process for the CV rail coming out here was turned down. So even though we can build huge arenas and do projects like that, and they can be exempted from the CEQA process, the train can't, even though it has 2 operational tracks right where it goes. We couldn't get that past Sacramento. They still want us to spend millions of dollars on a CEQA study. So that unfortunately we failed, but that doesn't mean we stopped trying. So let's keep working on that train. We all will use it when we get it. And that's all I have.
All right, Councilmember Moreno.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to continue what Councilmember Harnick was talking about, that unfortunately, when there are challenges with CEQA, it doesn't advance, but we can still continue advocating. And right now, I'm up here at the League of Cities Leader Summit, and part of what we did yesterday is go to our statewide officials in direct meetings. So I was able to meet with Assemblymember Wallace, Gonzalez, and Senator Ochoa Bo. And it was an excellent opportunity to say, this is what we need. I mentioned to Gonzalez about the train. He said he would like to see it be a loop all the way to El Centro. Again, the conversations are ongoing, so I'm hopeful that we will get to that in the future. While I've been up here, I wanted to praise our city manager and the collaboration with other cities, because there has been a lot of positive feedback about the idea of consolidating for a RHNA sub-region and how we can help support communities that can't afford the infrastructure for their own housing, but also some raised eyebrows and big eyes with Krista's suggestion that cities like Palm Desert that have overproduced in RHNA are able to get some sort of a relaxation with other requirements such as SLA or a variety of opportunities, which would incentivize cities that have been hesitant on housing to move forward. And I think that, again, it was great to see support for that. Recently, I was at the Coachella Valley Student of the Month with the mayor, and it was to see the stories of resilience and commitment to thriving, and the fact that leadership from students, and excellence from students doesn't always have to be a 4.0. It's getting through and moving ahead despite obstacles. And that followed along with seeing the mayor at Do the Right Thing, which was just the junior version of that in elementary school and middle school and so on, to do the right thing for the sake of being a good person, not because you're waiting for a reward. Seeing how we are able to build engaged youth to become the kind of person that we want to see out in the world. So that was very rewarding. And in terms of the arena, I agree with Councilmember Harnick that we were able to get the arena. And now, as we've all adjusted to having the arena, we have learned how much that drives the economy. And at the Rancho Mirage Chamber of Commerce Speaker Series luncheon, Gina Rotolo from Acrisure was there, and she presented on things like they've had 2 million attendees since opening in December 2022. 1 million fans as of this month, and the One Valley Foundation has created over $2 million in local impact. And when Paul McCartney was here, 92% of the tickets were from people outside of California. That was remarkable to me, that they are attracting headliners of that caliber and all of that money. I'm sure a lot of it comes directly to Palm Desert. Let's see, what else is there that I can leave after? Oh, Olive Crest. Most of us have either partnered with or support Olive Crest. Every month they have an ongoing series of events. And for this month, they already passed the Community Day Resource Fair, which they have every month. And for May, that will be on the 13th. And that has the ability to connect families with resources from food, diapers, social work, etc. So this is one that we want to be sure that our community knows about. And clerk appreciation, wanted to follow up on that with my extreme gratitude. I have come to meetings and I'll take one of the binders that staff had prepared for a study session. And I've had people look over and said, wow, your staff does that for you. And I want to be sure that staff knows we don't take you for granted the way that you help us stay organized. And as a reward, I'm bringing you souvenirs, pens with the highlighter tip, because I know how much you're doing to proofread. So again, silly little thing, but my appreciation to you. Oh, and the last thing, again, Earth Day, I know that we had different groups volunteering, and specifically, I saw some pictures from Debbie Green and her neighborhood leaders. So thank you to everyone out there that took a few steps, got a little sweat in there, and all of the feel goods from knowing that you're making a difference in the planet. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem. Okay, I've just got a couple thoughts to share. The new business opened up on San Pablo, Desert Kids Coffee, and we were able to have a tour in advance, and it just makes me so happy and proud to see entrepreneurs and business owners investing what amounts to, in this particular case, millions of dollars into a retail space right there on San Pablo. And I know when San Pablo was first, we'll call it reconfigured, several years ago, there was a lot of sort of dispute, maybe a little bit of backlash, saying, oh, it was a waste of money or not a good investment by the city. But boy, it's turned out, given a little bit of time and a little bit of, people settling in, it's really worked out beautifully. And I'm just really, really pleased to see several businesses. I mean, the problem they're having now between Rutina Coffee, Desert Kids, you got Mi Cultura, you got several thriving businesses right there. The problem they're encountering now is lack of parking because the businesses are so popular. So just kudos to the city for making that happen, building the infrastructure to make it business friendly and getting all these, attracting these businesses. It's a wonderful thing to see people investing in our city. And the second thing is I noticed, and I think Mayor Pro Tem brought this to my attention, on the flagpole. And this is going to be the last chance to make a request for action before we change our rules, possibly. But in this way, the flagpole outside has a plaque that says honors the Henderson, I think it was Cliff Henderson of the Henderson brothers, founded the city on May 15th, 1946. And that was a date that I guess was recorded as a founding date before we were incorporated as a city. And I thought, well, that's 80 years ago this year. I don't know if there's anything we can do to kind of acknowledge that at our next meeting or whatever have you. But I thought that was a significant date or, something that we maybe ought to sort of take a moment to honor and recognize at our next meeting, or in some way, shape, or form through social media, whatever have you. So I know we all talk about November 23rd, 1973, but May 15th, 1946 seems like a significant date in our history as well. And if we could find a way to honor that, I'd love to see that. So that's all I have. Thank you. Oh, I guess I
Mr.
need
Mayor,
to-
can I just one last thing as we're talking about local business? That's one thing that was brought up during the AcroShare presentation. They said so many of our local businesses struggled during the festival season because people don't want to go out. Here in Palm Desert, we don't have the same traffic. We want to encourage everybody, please go out. Our local businesses still need you, even while we get so many people coming in. So that's my last thought on that. They said, hey, you can get early tea times too.
Perfect, thank you. Do we need a fellow council member to do the thing with the 19?
Well, I'll support you on that.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Okay, on to our item number 12, non-agenda public comments. This time has been set aside for the public to address the City Council on issues that are not on the agenda for up to 3 minutes. Because the Brown Act does not allow the City Council to act on items not listed on the agenda, council members may briefly respond or refer the matter to staff for a report and recommendation at a future meeting. And City Clerk, if you have some housekeeping remarks.
For those on Zoom, if you want to participate in public comment, please click the raise hand button on your computer or smartphone. And if you're calling in on your phone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. And when called upon, press *6 to unmute yourself.
Okay, there's no blue cards for non-agenda items. Is there anything online?
No online comments.
All right, well then we are now closing the non-agenda public comment period and moving on to item number 13, consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered routine and may be approved by one motion. The public may comment on any item on the consent calendar for up to 3 minutes. I do have 2 blue cards here, and we'll start with those. We have these are both in regards to item 14B. We'll start off with Donald Ziegler. Oh, I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. You're right. Sorry about that. All right. Well, we don't have any. I beg your pardon, guys. That was my bad. We're on item 13, not 14, so my apologies. So then we'll go on to no online public comments on consent?
No online comments.
And no blue cards on consent. Do my fellow council members wish to pull any items?
I need to recuse myself for 13J due to proximity of real estate of the item at hand.
All right. Very good. So recusal on item 13J. Very good. Anybody else? All right.
Move approval.
I'll second the motion.
Councilmember Harnick.
Yes, with the
Councilmember-
registered recusal.
Councilmember Moreno. I'm sorry, Councilmember Moreno?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Nastandi?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Perdetto?
Yes.
Mayor Truby?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Very good. We now move on to our action calendar and item 14A, to establish a pilot adoption incentive program, approve operating procedures, and convert one mobile spay-neuter clinic to a trap-neuter release clinic for fiscal year 25-26. And the Animal Services Homeward Paws Pilot Adoption Incentive Program. We'll have a staff report.
Hi. Hello? Okay, there we go. Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Erica Castellano. I'm the assistant to the City Manager, and today staff is presenting to you the adoption of a pet adoption incentive program, also referred to as Homeward Paws. It would be a pilot program, as well as converting one previously budgeted mobile spay-neuter clinic into a trap-neuter release, or TNR clinic, for this fiscal year. So this item builds on the City Council's overall approach of expanding public access to animal services programs. In August of last year, Animal Samaritans donated 90 spay and neuter vouchers covering 100% of the cost of those procedures. All of those were claimed within 2 weeks, and in December of last year, the City Council approved partnership with Animal Samaritans, and that program launched in January of this year. To date, 232 of those vouchers have been claimed, and 168 of the procedures have been completed. Together, these results just show that there's a real community need for accessible animal care resources in Palm Desert. I think I went forward. There we go. The program is designed to be funded with existing documented, I'm so sorry, hold on. I went too fast, I'm sorry. The intent of the Homeward Paws pilot program is to encourage more Palm Desert residents to adopt Palm Desert animals that are housed in Riverside County Animal Services. By helping residents with upfront costs of bringing a pet home, staff believe the program can increase adoptions, reduce shelter overcrowding, shorten the length of stay for animals in the shelter, and improve overall animal welfare outcomes. And over time, it can also help lower the city's shelter expenditures, especially because the county's contract structure ties future costs to prior year service levels. The program is designed to be funded with existing documented savings. During the first 2 quarters of this fiscal year, Animal Services came in below projections with a significant savings in sheltering cost. Staff identified $32,000 in those savings that are eligible for reprogramming from this fiscal year, and any unused funds at the end of the year will be transferred into the Innovation Reserves account to utilize for the next fiscal year. The recommendation before council is to use those documented savings to fund the pilot program. And the TNR clinic component would also be handled through a reallocation of already budgeted resources. As proposed, eligible adopters would receive a $125 gift card to local pet supply stores to help offset the initial setup cost of bringing home a pet. The idea is to just really make a positive adoption experience for these families who are bringing home animals from the shelter. And so for dogs, that setup cost may include bowls, a collar, leash, waste bags, food, a bed, and toys. And for cats, it may include the same, as well as litter box, scoop, a litter, and a carrier as well. And this incentive is meant to make adoption more accessible while also promoting responsible pet ownership from day one. As proposed, the proposed eligibility requirements are intended to keep the program focused on Palm Desert residents as well as Palm Desert animals. To qualify, adopters must be a Palm Desert resident. They must adopt from Riverside County Animal Services at the Coachella Valley Animal Campus. They must provide proof of adoption and must license the animal with the city if it is required. And incentives would be limited to 2 per calendar year per household. On the animal side, eligible adoptions would be limited to cats and dogs only. They must be adopted through the Coachella Valley Animal Campus, and the animal must be identified as originating from Palm Desert. And to make the program more accessible, staff anticipates that residents would be able to submit eligibility documentations and pick up gift cards at the library, which offers evening and weekend accessibility. And here we have a breakdown of why staff believes that the program is supportable. Palm Desert animals currently stay in the shelter an average of 13.2 days, and the shelter cost at a daily rate is $35.81 per day per animal. And that means that the average kenneling cost per animal is approximately $473. So even modest reductions in shelter length of stay can generate meaningful savings. So as shown here, if 50 animals are adopted, 1 day of shelter saving equals about $1,970, which is the equivalent of funding approximately 14 incentive $125 gift cards. And at the current figure of 126 Palm Desert animals adopted through RCAS at CVAC, this fiscal year, 1 day of savings is approximately $4,512, or the equivalent of 36 gift cards. So the broader point is that when adoptions happen sooner, the city reduces shelter utilization and can reinvest those savings into more positive animal outcomes. So staff is recommending this as a one-year pilot program so that the city can evaluate results before considering a longer-term commitment. During the pilot year, staff would track several performance measures, such as the number of Palm Desert originated animals, any reduction in shelter length of stay, any net shelter cost savings, and additionally, we will monitor pet licensing compliance and coordinate the pilot with existing spay and neuter voucher program. In addition to the adoption incentive program, staff is recommending conversion of one budgeted mobile spay neuter clinic into a dedicated TNR clinic for the fiscal year. RCAS has experienced clinic cancellations due to veterinary understaffing, which has constrained access to TNR services. And one potential option is to dedicate one of the city's mobile clinic events specifically to TNR. Staff is not requesting additional funding for this change because it's already been budgeted for this fiscal year. There is one operational consideration, however, and that is that creating a dedicated Palm Desert cat transport bus could be challenging. So with that, staff is recommending a one-year pilot that uses existing animal services savings to help Palm Desert residents adopt Palm Desert animals, reduce shelter stays, and improve outcomes without requiring additional general fund support. And we're also recommending the conversion of one already budgeted mobile clinic to a TNR clinic to address current service gaps. And together, these actions respond to demonstrated community demand and build on the city's broader animal services efforts. And that concludes my presentations, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions? Councilmember Harnick.
I want to start with, I think this is great. I assume we'll have them fill out forms, some sort of form, so we have
Correct.
information. What, and this is, I'll bet Pedro knows this answer, probably a few of you do. How many dogs or cats are allowed on one property?
That would be a Pedro question.
I see from the back
Maybe
four.
Richard knows.
Is that a
Four.
any combination? Okay, so just, what would concern me is if we went over that, because somebody, people love animals, and I see a lot of happy dogs, cats, and human beings in this program. I just would be concerned that we may go over the limit, so I want to make sure that we have something in place, at least on the form, that would protect us in that case.
We could add it to the form.
Okay, thank you. I think it's great.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Tell me what TNR clinic looks like.
So a trap neuter release clinic, it's similar to the mobile clinic that we have that's a spay neuter clinic. It's just specifically for trap neuter, for cats specifically.
So how do we trap them?
So residents would bring in the cat that they have trapped in their area, their home area, and they would bring it to the clinic. They would have to make it an appointment, and that's what would make it difficult specifically to be a Palm Desert resident. We may have more availability than actual cats, so it's an option for you to open it up to the community, or if you just want to strictly have it be Palm Desert residents.
So I've experienced with the County of Riverside where they'll offer traps to residents with issues. Is that something that we'll offer to residents in anticipation of the clinic?
I'll defer that to Richard.
I don't believe the county offers that service anymore with respect to renting or providing traps.
Agree, I like the program, it's good.
Okay, so then that's a real, I have gotten those traps before because where I live, there were a lot of feral cats. It's not, you can't just go pick up a feral cat. So we might, I don't know if there's something we might need to address. I mean, one step at a time, and this is a great step, but they have to be trapped and brought in, and that's what I used to do. And, we talk about rabbits procreating. Cats procreate at a higher rate than rabbits do. So it really is important that the TNR clinics, but they do need to be trapped. So that's a big issue.
And actually, before I forgot to ask for if there's any online public comments. I apologize. I know there's no blue cards.
You do have Councilmember Moreno, though.
Yeah, I understand, but I'm in to the public. Like
No
ordinarily, we do public comment and then we go to council discussion.
Correct.
Right? Okay, so
We have no public comment cards and no online comments.
just want to keep it into order in some way, shape, or form. Sorry. Okay, Councilmember Moreno.
Some of the discussion was in terms of, are the traps available? They are not generally available to the public, which has been part of the challenge in the TNR Fridays becoming TNR Tuesdays, because the county said they didn't want to take them if they weren't in a trap. So we've got to look at that catch-22 of trying to have some sort of consistency with what the county allows versus what we're going to allow, or if this is completely on our own. I think a lot of the people that find the feral cats are folks, maybe you've already been feeding them outside and have a little bit of trust with them. So if they're able to bring it in some sort of a cat carrier, I think that that's a start until we figure it out. I think in conversations with Pedro, it may have been that there's some sort of a liability issue that has happened, that traps may no longer be either legal or ethical after an animal was left trapped and it resulted in some agonizing conditions, as far as I will elaborate. But I do have a question. Do we have an idea of, as of the last status update from RCDAS, how many animals that have originated in Palm Desert are currently in their census? Or just if we've seen nope, we've got the answer on that in terms of the pattern, but do we know how many are there now? Because my understanding is it's not picked up, it's only kept going down.
Yes, we currently have 9 animals that are, or is that what you're asking, how many we have that are currently
Yes.
adoptable? 9 animals as of Tuesday.
That's amazing. That just shows that everything we've been doing is working, and I want to give my gratitude not only to staff but also to Mayor Truby, as we've been tackling what's going on with the commission and what we can do in Palm Desert to be leading how we approach this as a region.
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, I got a couple questions. So the way this is set up, it looks like a positive feedback loop, this adoption incentive program. So our budget because of the new funding model that the county's come up with, they charge each city based on days that Palm Desert animals are in their care, right? So that then they give us a bill, say, hey, you had 100 animals over the course of the year. Each one was 10 days per whatever. It's 10,000 user days at such and such dollars per day. Is that basically how it's calculated, that they give us the bill? That's the way they formulate a bill for our city?
Correct.
Okay. So what we're trying to do is, fiscal year 26, 27 is going to be based on 25, 26 usage.
I believe so, unless it's a 2-year, is it a 2-year rollout?
It's a 3-year rolling average.
Okay.
Moving forward.
Got it. So we've got savings. Any savings, we budget so much based on what's being asked of us, and then the next year, if we have lower usage, that leftover becomes something we use for this program. So that's great. That's brilliant. It's actually a really good program you guys came up with. I know Daniel and the gang, the rest of the crew did it. It was really, really smart. So just to be sure, this incentive is only offered to the $125 incentive with the goodies for the bowls and the food and et cetera, is offered only for Palm Desert animals, that are in their care. But, one thing that stuck out, I know I'm on the subcommittee and we talked this through, but going through this a second time, I'm wondering if it might be better to open it up outside. It's only offered to Palm Desert residents who adopt Palm Desert animals, but the goal is to get Palm Desert animals out of the shelter. And so I'm wondering if it might not be a bad idea to open it up to anybody. And just the idea is to get those animals out.
And that's up to the city council. I think our recommendation was to try this out with Palm Desert residents for the pilot program to see how successful it is. But if you'd like to open it up to the entire public, we're more than happy to do so.
Yeah, and I think the reasoning was we're using Palm Desert taxpayer money, and we didn't want to necessarily provide a benefit to a La Quinta resident using Palm Desert taxpayer money. But to my way of thinking, we want to incentivize getting these animals out. So if we give a La Quinta resident $125 worth of goodies to get one of our animals out, I think it might be wise to consider that.
You bring up a great point. If the intent is to save the taxpayer money, is it worth $125 to a non-resident to get that animal out that'll save us $300? Yeah.
So, like I said, my original line of reasoning was not using Palm Desert taxpayer money to benefit a La Quinta resident, not to be provincial or anything, but it just seemed like a wise use of dollars. But I think with a second look at this, it might be nice to open it up.
But we don't really know the demand yet, is that correct?
Correct.
That's
It
why
would-
you
this
wanted
is-
the pilot program to see if there's demand, so.
Why don't we go with the pilot program as, I would support going with the pilot program as presented. And if we find that we need to adjust, let's adjust from there. But let's first start Palm Desert, Palm Desert. It's not that we have a shortage of Palm Desert residents or animals. So I would support, just give it a pilot and a finite amount of time, see what it looks like, let's analyze it, and then see where we go from there.
Mayor Truby,
thinking.
I think that we can do a 30-day pilot to say if we get that interest because people are watching, if we say we're going to give you money now, if after 30 days we have interest from other cities, I agree. Why are we going to let animals rack up that bill? The intent long-term was to have the animals clear out. When we did have the incentives for people to submit for their reimbursement, for their cost adoption, et cetera, people weren't taking advantage of it as much. We've been doing so much proactive work. We've got the momentum. And right now, I think we just need to say, all right, Palm Desert residents, are you interested? In these first 30 days, we'll find out what we are doing well, what needs to change. And then once we expand it beyond that, we're going to be saving a whole lot of money. And then my question I had about after that was, do we have any idea in terms of what could be challenging about getting the bus? What are some of the anticipated obstacles? Because if any of that can be resolved financially, if we clear the shelters by giving out those gift cards, we then have funds allocated to proceed with supporting TNR to make that more efficient. So what are the potential barriers that you've identified?
I think the only barrier that we identified was if we wanted to restrict it to just Palm Desert residents and Palm Desert cats. That's just the only operational. I don't think there was anything funding that would be a barrier.
It's just a matter of do we know the capacity for the bus?
30 to 40 cats.
And that would need a sign up anyway, right?
Correct.
So could we potentially do a Palm Desert list and then a wait list for anybody that's outside of Palm Desert?
We could do that if that's the direction council wants to go.
Because I think that, it's such a need all over the place. And if we tell our Palm Desert residents with ID, of course, we don't want people just saying, I found all these cats. And if anybody else come on standby, and then we'll know while it's here, while we can figure that out. Because again, the objective is there. How often are we getting charged for animals that are in Rancho Mirage or other areas? Maybe from there we could partner if they're Rancho Mirage, for example. I know that they've been doing their own. How can we collaborate or partner if to extend that maximum benefit regionally if we can't just say only Palm Desert or if we're not going to fill the bus?
Yeah, staff can look into that with other cities locally around here in the Coachella Valley to see if there's any interest.
Yeah, maybe they could share the cost.
We did reach out to Supervisor Perez's office because they did help with funding, but there was no more money for this fiscal year. So I'm going to reach out again next fiscal year to see if they'd like to partner with us as well.
Terrific, okay.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you so much.
Mayor Pro Tem?
In any pilot program, I think keeping the variables as narrow as possible and keeping it simple is the key to good testing. So I think keep it simple. Let's run with this, and then as we get more data, I think we have some good ideas to investigate as we have time.
And given the understanding of how difficult it is sometimes to communicate and to reach our community members, might we look at longer than 30 days, and perhaps this is a 6-month pilot program, and I appreciate, let's limit the variables if we truly want to get answers. So I wonder if what is the length of the time of this program?
It would be 1 year as presented, but if you'd like to do
Okay.
6 months or 30 days, okay.
I think your ideas are fine. I think giving it 1 year, and we can really get some good data from that. And then when we have a model from that year that we can share with other cities and bring them on board and show them how they can do their program, and we'll do ours.
Terrific. I agree. For the sake of expediency of implementation and the fact that it is a pilot program, I agree with my colleagues, but at least I've introduced the idea that there are some variables we could introduce as well over the course of it, and we can revisit it and be flexible. So good. I'll entertain a motion unless there's any more comments or questions.
I would move as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Councilmember Harnick.
Yes.
Councilmember Moreno.
Yes.
Councilmember Nastandi.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Perdetto.
Yes.
Mayor Trubie.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Terrific. All right. On to item 14B, ordinances amending the Palm Desert Municipal Code to dissolve the Environmental Resources Committee and Homelessness Task Force and to amend the responsibilities and meeting frequency of the Parks and Recreation Committee. Let's see. Do we have a staff report?
Yes. Honorable Mayor and City Council, I'm Anthony Mejia, City Clerk, and this item returns following the City Council's prior study session. The two ordinances before you would implement that direction by dissolving the Environmental Resources Committee and Homelessness Task Force, and by updating the responsibilities and meeting frequency of the Parks and Recreation Committee to every other month. And I'm available for questions.
All right. And before I bring it back to council, I'm going to offer up, we do have 2 speaker cards here for public comment. So we'll start with Mr. Donald Ziegler.
Good afternoon again. Thank you. These comments are in reference to item 14B on your agenda for today. The proposal under consideration is to eliminate the Resource Preservation and Enhancement Committee. Its role is described on the city's website. You can look it all up on your phone. From the community heading, select environmental programs. I won't read the whole content, but it says that the city's environmental programs serve as a liaison for the Resource Preservation and Enhancement Committee and help to support and move forward the sustainability initiatives recommended by the committee. Everything they do support healthy, thriving neighborhoods, leaving a better Palm Desert for all. That is what people inquiring about our city, about how our city treats the environment, read now on the city's website. It is therefore misleading, I think, to eliminate the tool for achieving the sustainability objectives, which is the committee, without also eliminating that these objectives matter and that support our healthy, thriving neighborhoods. One of the sustainability objectives of the city has been the creation and eventual implementation of the Climate Action Plan. Unfortunately, by disbanding the committee, the city will eliminate any mechanism for formal citizen participation in implementing key elements of that plan. So you should also be honest and include in this resolution a clause that specifies that the city does not recognize the need for citizen involvement to address the threats presented by climate change. In conclusion, it appears that the council has decided that the natural environment of our city and what we need to do to preserve and improve it is not a priority and worthy of the attention it has been receiving for many years. Unfortunately, we now have a federal administration that has a similar callous attitude toward the issues about the environment, even going so far as to say that climate change is a hoax and only fossil fuels can provide the energy needed for our future. It's unfortunate that our city appears to have been influenced by this attitude and seems to be implementing it here. I can only hope that the existing federal administration will soon be gone and that our city government will again seriously address the future with a realistic approach to sustaining our desert environment. You may eliminate the RPEC today, but I have no doubt that it will be reinstated in the very near future. Nature will continue to exist no matter how much you think we can ignore it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ziegler. Next blue card I have is from a Mr. Paul Murphy.
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, I'm speaking not only for myself, but also for Randy Geyer, who did not know about this and was out of town and wants me to tell you that he's shocked. And also Rob Langford, who's very ill, and he also is shocked. But we do not feel that we can properly do our jobs with meeting every other month. I've had considerable experience with trying that out. I was on the National Dealer Council for 8 years with General Motors and for 9 years with Toyota. And every time we tried to have a meeting that was out of sequence, we had one heck of a time getting a quorum. A good example is I'm making a real effort to be back for a meeting on this coming Tuesday, and I have to be in Portland for a board meeting on Monday, but I will be here. We don't feel that we've been doing our job properly, and I think you, Mr. Mayor, know what I'm talking about. We've had problems that we didn't solve, and we're still trying to solve them, one being the swimming pool. We got a major job to try to get that under control. A good example is I chaired the committee to hire an architectural firm to design the new, it was at one time 40-acre park. I think it's now 28. I'm not sure, but in any regard, I have a very close friend whose son owns the largest architectural firm in Orange County. I don't feel that I'm an expert on park design and so forth and so on. He has 100 architects. I called him and I asked him who we should hire. He said, "You've got such and such a firm in Palm Desert." I said, "Yes, we do." He said, "They do an outstanding job. We use them all the time, particularly in that area." Okay, we voted 100% on our subcommittee to hire that firm. What happened? Never was brought back to us. The city hired a firm for $5 million more. We never, ever heard a word back. That wasn't the only time that happened. Now we have, fortunately, a new administration, and we don't have that problem. But we do have constant issues that come up that can't wait 60 days. That being said, if you don't, at least give us a chance to discuss this in our own meeting. This is not appropriate to just bring it up and boom, that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any online speakers?
Last call for online speakers. No online speakers.
All right, thank you very much. Public comment is now closed, and I turn it over to my colleagues. Anybody care to ask any questions of staff or any questions?
More just discussion with us.
Okay, Councilmember Moreno, any questions, or should we move to discussion?
No, that can wait as a comment.
Okay, very good. So, comments. Councilmember Moreno, comments?
Yes, I think that that we should take these 3 items separately. They are 3 different committees that we are looking to revise. I think that we have people representing their different committees and their commitment to serve. And I think that as mentioned by Mr. Murphy, I think we should have at least had the conversation with the individuals in that committee. Yes, ultimately the mayor and mayor pro tem decide. That's there, that's established. But I think that we should have had an opportunity to allow people to come and have a dialogue in terms of saying why it would be beneficial. I think that this type of top-down leadership towards things that are so important to the city is not the way we should have done it, when the purpose of our committees and commissions is supposed to work both ways. So that's a consideration that I have on my part. A side note is, I know we talked about it, but I don't know if there's been any update on when we're going to rename some of the committees. I know that staff had mentioned there had been confusion between the environmental resources, the cultural resources, and cultural arts. So I'm, trying to put that in as a little flag. But I overall agree that this needs to be changed, and I think most of all, I severely object to eliminating the environmental resources such as outlined in section 1.2 of the proposed ordinance.
Right, very good, thank you. Councilmember Nastandy.
I was going to say, in terms of the Cultural Resources Committee, the intent, I thought, is because it's with CVAG and we're viewing it as a more regional issue. Yes, an environmental issue. And so that's for it. In terms of Parks and Rec, I do not serve on that committee, and so I'll defer to discussion with my fellow colleagues on the rationale.
Councilmember Harnick. Mayor Pro Tem.
In question regarding specifically for the Parks and Rec Committee, there's two main recommendations. One is to strike in the municipal code the obligation for committee members to do park inspections. That is a logistical and liability issue. I think it's something we have to do. The second one is to set the floor on their meeting schedule, not the ceiling. And the concerns of the committee and the work they're doing is independent of the floor of meeting schedule. So when there are issues to discuss, when there's business to discuss, there's no prohibition or restriction on their ability to meet more frequently. So this is setting a floor, not a ceiling. So that one that addresses the two components of that. The issues brought up are independent of the meeting schedule and the park inspections. So that's something staff and the liaison can work out independently. And then the environmental committee, we talked about this last at our study session. There's an old wisdom I heard from an author I like. It says, never ask your barber if you need a haircut, because the barber's always going to tell you you need a haircut. So when we're making executive decisions on structuring the city, we're looking at the objectives and the outcomes we want and the processes to get there. At no point have I heard anyone say that we have any objective to reduce our commitment to the environment. We have staff that are committed to that. We continue to be committed to that. The time since the committee was changed till today is very different. The proclivity to people adopting solar and batteries on their homes, driving electric cars. The younger generation has sustainability built into their blood. Entrepreneurs start their business today thinking sustainability first. The City of Palm Desert led on the behavioral change. We have staff in place to execute good programs. What we're talking about now is a process that includes an advisory body that is creating less value add than in the past. And so what we're setting is an organizational structure to keep that progress going at an efficient basis, and then looking to work in collaboration with our regional partners. So those are kind of the thinking behind the two and why I support them.
Very good. Councilmember Harnick.
Thank you. Again, taking the Parks and Rec is two separate issues, as you stated, and I support your position on both of those. We do need, for liability reasons, for many other reasons, to cut back where it had our citizens doing inspections of parks and recs. It's not appropriate. The other issue was the frequency of meetings. And as Mayor Pro Tem Pradetto says, this is the floor, not the ceiling. And when issues arise, if there is an issue that must be addressed, there is nothing that stops a meeting from being called if there is that need. So I support this as presented. Going to, and no one's addressed the homelessness task force, we have taken it, that was created when we didn't have everything we have in place now. And we have taken it in-house. We work with CVAG. We've done a great job on both those areas to really be effective. And so that I understand as well why it doesn't serve in the way it was originally intended, because we are now doing this in-house. The other issue with the RPEC, Resource Preservation and Enhancement Committee. Again, Mayor Pro Tem talks about our students, Arbor Day was a perfect example. Our students understand. And it's not that we are saying the voice of our community members, a small group is not important. What we are saying is every community member has a responsibility. And that has been instilled within just the ethos of Palm Desert. We work with CVAG closely on environmental issues, and we have found that we're most effective when we're dealing with it on a regional basis. And CVAG gives us that venue to do that. We will continue having a voice in CVAG. We will continue with our students. We're in the schools. We do an awful lot with our students who, you ask them, they're just going to tell you reduce, reuse, recycle. It is part of how they think. When the time comes, if there is an issue that we must address, that we can address as a city, as a entity, then we will do so. But now we're looking at things that need to be dealt regionally. And we have that opportunity by working with CVAG. So I support this as it is presented by the staff report. Thank you.
Very good. I agree with Mayor Pro Tem and Councilmember Harnick. I think I trust the staff feedback and the advice we're given and the observations. I think the amount of work that goes into these committee and commission meetings is substantial for our staff. And I think we're just trying to streamline it and let them focus on maybe some of the things that we direct or some other jobs at hand. So I agree with their observations on the feedback we got from staff. The advisory, I trust that Parks and Rec will be able to do its job with meeting every 2 months and give us advice and act as an advisory body. Ultimately, we are the decision makers, and that's the important thing to kind of keep in mind here. So yeah, I agree, and I agree with the staff report as presented. And I'll entertain a motion.
Before we do that, Councilmember Pradetto, I disagree with you when you said that, yes, we are in different times, but that the committees are providing less value. And when we look at the committees as a gathering of our residents, I think that negates it. I think that we need to ensure that we tell our residents, we value you, we value your input. We want you to come in person and have a place to gather, not just do an online survey. So I just wanted to highlight that. I think that I would motion that we take these 3 items separately, since we are talking about 3 different committees, so that I would make a motion to vote on them separately.
I don't see a second on that, so I'll entertain another motion if anybody wants to make a motion.
I'll move staff recommendation.
I will second that.
Councilmember Harnick.
Yes.
Councilmember Moreno.
No.
Councilmember Nastandi.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Perdetto.
Yes.
Mayor Truby.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
Thank you very much. Okay, on to item number 14C. We are looking at an update regarding Senate Bill 707, Brown Act compliance, resolution approving a remote access service disruption policy, ordinance amending the Palm Desert Municipal Code related to public conduct, recording, and disruptions during meetings. Looking for a staff report.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, I'm still Anthony Mejia, City Clerk, and today's presentation is on Senate Bill 707 compliance and consideration of a remote access disruption policy and introduction of an ordinance regarding public conduct. I'll briefly cover the Senate Bill 707 changes, the language access analysis, the required remote access disruption policy, the proposed public conduct ordinance, and the city's overall compliance status and the recommendations before you. For Senate Bill 707, it amended multiple provisions of the Brown Act. The bill revised teleconference meeting rules, added remote public access requirements for eligible legislative bodies, that would include the City Council and all of our boards and commissions, required adoption of a policy addressing disruption of telephonic or internet service during meetings, revised rules regarding website posting, public participation, translation, and accessibility, and clarified standards regarding disruptive conduct during meetings. Regarding the language access standards, Senate Bill 707 requires translated agendas only if both of these thresholds are met. The language is spoken by at least 20% of the applicable population, and at least 20% of those speakers speak English less than very well. Both conditions must be satisfied. For Palm Desert, Spanish does not reach the first threshold. Spanish speakers represent 16.8% of the population age 5 and over, so agenda translation is not required under SB 707. Even so, the city will continue to voluntarily translate meeting agendas into Spanish as an access measure. Senate Bill 707 requires the City Council to adopt a policy addressing disruption of telephonic or internet-based remote access during meetings. The bottom line is that the policy is that if remote access disruption occurs, the City Council must take at least a 1-hour recess to allow time for service restoration before determining whether to proceed with the remainder of the agenda, extend the recess, or continue the matters to a future agenda, and this would also apply to our boards and commissions. The proposed ordinance updates section 2.63.270, which has not been substantively updated since 1975. This is related to the public conduct. This ordinance aligns the municipal code with current Brown Act requirements by recognizing the public's right to record the meetings themselves, defining disruptive conduct, applying standards to both in-person and remote participation, and requiring a viewpoint-neutral enforcement. Staff's review indicates that the city has already completed the principal operational requirements under SB 707. This includes two-way remote access, telephonic participation, equal public comment opportunity for remote speakers, captioning, just cause tracking, website and meeting information updates, voluntary Spanish agenda translation, and public outreach efforts. And that concludes my, and staff recommends that the City Council adopt the resolution approving the remote access service disruption policy and introduce the ordinance updating the municipal code regarding public conduct, and I'm available for any questions.
Excellent, thank you. And before I bring it back to council, I don't see any blue speaker cards. Are there any online comments?
No online comments.
All right, I'll open it up for questions from my colleagues, if there are any.
I have a
All right,
question.
Councilmember. Okay, and then I'll open up for discussion.
My question is to our city clerk, do we consider those participating on Zoom to have essentially the same rights as those attending in person?
Yes, so they get the
Okay.
same time allocation as somebody in person.
So in the event that there is a disruption that requires clearing out the chambers, does that mean that it would also exclude the people on Zoom? Would they be considered shut out? Or would this mean that people, if they were removed from the chambers, would they then just be able to join on Zoom? how would that occur when there's an overlap?
My understanding is that the purpose is to allow as many people back into the room that were not participating in the disruptive behavior. So under that case, if the Zoom participants were not part of the disruption, then they would be permitted to continue to participate, as well as, if the majority of the audience was not disruptive, then only those that are would be removed.
Perfect. And if there aren't any other questions, I do have a comment, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, proceed.
My comment is, I think that the language stating that the city is implementing a direct subscription link for members of the public who wish to request agendas and agenda packet materials electronically, I think that's phenomenal. I think that's phenomenal because it'll pop up in your inbox. It'll remind you what's going on instead of something that's out of sight, out of mind if you're not actively looking for that. So I think that's amazing, and kudos on that. So thank you.
Good. Anything from my colleagues? Councilmember Harnick.
I would like to thank our city clerk and city clerk's office for making sure that Palm Desert, just ensuring that we are compliant and creating inclusive and orderly and productive meetings by your efforts. Thank you.
Very supportive and ready to make a motion to approve.
Well, and
Second.
One comment, another example of why it's Municipal Clerks Week and why we're celebrating our clerks, city clerk department. Great job, Anthony. So we have a motion and a second.
Councilmember Harnick.
Yes.
Councilmember Moreno.
Yes.
Councilmember Niscandy.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Perdetto.
Yes.
And Mayor Trubie.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Okay, on to item 14D, review of requests for action, process, and proposed amendment to Palm Desert Municipal Code, Section 2.36.060, and looking for a staff report.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, I'm still Anthony Mejia, City Clerk, and in February, the City Council directed staff to review the request for action procedures with the Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem. That review included both the support threshold and whether requests for action should be submitted in writing prior to the meeting. The ordinance before the City Council reflects that review. It would keep the current requirement that a request for action receive support from one additional council member and would require that the request be submitted in writing in advance. The request would still be made verbally at the meeting and would still require a second to move forward. The ordinance also removes outdated agenda administration language and clarifies the role in the agenda process. And as a matter of how this would go in practice, when I send out the email asking for any questions, I would also include the link to the form, and council members would be able to complete that form online, and it would be transmitted to the city clerk's office. And our goal would be to continue to accept those forms as late as possible prior to the council meeting and distribute those forms on the dais if needed.
Okay, very good. I don't see any, I suppose that's the end of the report? Mr. City Clerk?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. And I don't see any blue cards. Are there any online comments?
No online comments.
Terrific. All right. I will open up to questions from my colleagues.
I don't have any questions, but I do want to provide a little more background because we looked at a couple of different options. I want to give Anthony a lot of credit. This solution he came up with requires, there's a lot of different ways we could do this, but requires very minimal changes to municipal code, gets something to us in writing, but maintains a lot of flexibility for council and staff. So thank you.
Any other? I do have one question, actually. So the request for action is submitted formally, either electronically or in paper, and it's distributed to the council members. How much Q&A is allowed before we actually come into council meetings? In other words, I know you need a second, but how much discussion, if any, is allowed?
It would be very minimal and probably only to seek clarification, but the substance of the discussion would not occur when it's at the request for action process.
Got it. It's just for us to see, to consider personally, and then to second during the course of the meeting if we decide, another council member decides they want to second it.
And I also want to clarify that these requests for action would also be posted online, so the public would have access to them as well.
All right, perfect, thank you.
Well, maybe you just answered my comment then, because it seems as if it's been working how we've been doing it. And having it in writing, I wasn't sure the value of it, but I see the value that it would be available to the public. So I've answered my own comment there. Okay.
I would suggest too, putting it in writing is a good way to ensure there is some forethought into clarifying what you're asking for, and there's a benefit even to ourselves going through the practice of writing something that we plan to communicate. It's helpful in formulating the thought behind it as well.
Councilmember Moreno, any questions or comments?
My comment is, I appreciate the clarity after so long, where from 1 minute to the next, the day that former council member Sabby Jonathan and I agreed on something, that day the rules were changed to say you need 2 people to support, even though it was never formalized. That was used to keep certain things moving forward. And I know it happened to several of us. So I greatly appreciate that we're highlighting the process has always been there to only require 1 council member to support, and formalizing it in writing, I think is great. I would just like to clarify in terms of as soon as possible prior to, what's the ideal time frame that you would want? Because if something happens at the last minute where we say this can't wait, up until what moment can we submit a request?
So ideally, we would have the request submitted prior to Thursday of the council meeting day by 9 o'clock, so that it can be distributed in the supplemental materials that's provided to the council and posted online. However, because of those short-term ideas, or I'm sorry, not short-term ideas, but like the short notice, we would be willing to accept those forms. I would say try to do it at least a half hour before the meeting so we can make the duplications and provide them to the council.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
All right, anybody else? I love it. I think it's a huge improvement in the process. It keeps us from discussing something on the dais and getting caught on our heels or flat-footed when an idea is presented or request for action is presented. So it gives the other council members a little time to think about it, consider it. I love the idea, so I will entertain a motion.
I move approval.
Second.
Councilmember Harnick.
Yes.
Councilmember Moreno.
Yes.
Councilmember Nastandi.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Perdetto.
Yes.
Mayor Trubie.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Terrific. Thank you very much. And gotta get the gavel going. All right, we are now on to item 15, public hearings. The public may comment on individual public hearing items within the 3-minute time limit. The applicant and appellant will be provided with up to 10 minutes to make their presentations. Following public testimony, the appellant and applicant will be given an opportunity to offer rebuttal comments for up to 3 additional minutes. And the first item we have today is item 15A. Conduct a TEFRA public hearing and approve bond issuance by the California Municipal Finance Authority for Palm Desert Family Housing Project at Cook Street and Frank Sinatra Drive, supersede resolution number 2026-010. Looking for a staff report.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council. Ivan Sonario, Development Services. Staff is here this afternoon to conduct a public hearing required under the Federal Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act, under also known as TEFRA, and to consider approval of a revised bond issuance for Palm Desert Family Housing Project. This item is returning because the developer has a revised financing plan and is seeking additional exempt facility bonds, increasing the not-to-exceed amount originally from $50 million to $80 million. The Sinatra Family Housing has asked the California Municipal Finance Authority, or CMFA, to issue the bonds for this 298-unit affordable housing project on the corner of Cook Street and Frank Sinatra. The city's role is limited to satisfying the TEFRA public hearing and approval requirements. The bonds would be issued solely by CMFA. All repayment obligations would remain with the borrower, and the city would have no financial, legal, or moral obligation in connection with the bonds. And with that, I'll pass it over to Jared Suzuki from CMFA to answer any questions you may have.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor, City Council members. My name is Jared Suzuki from the California Municipal Finance Authority, and I'm representing the bond issuer in this transaction. And as Ivan stated, this has come before you previously, and the reason it is coming back is because we have increased the not to exceed amount from 50 to 80 million of tax exempt bonds. And this is just an administrative step, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you have.
All right, thank you very much. And at this time, I will open the public hearing. I don't see any blue cards.
No online comments?
I'll close the public hearing. All right. Council, any questions or comments? Very good. Well, I'll entertain Councilmember Moreno. Any questions or comments?
Yes, I had comments that were loaded, and I cannot find them popping up. So what is it? Can you refresh my memory? What's the amount that will be added as a not to exceed?
The current not to exceed amount is 80 million. And the not to exceed amount, just to provide some background, is the maximum amount of tax exempt bonds for a project. So previously it was 50 million, but then the developer was awarded additional tax exempt financing that exceeded that original 50 million not to exceed amount. And we had to come back before you with a higher not to exceed amount to stay within the parameters of the federal code.
What was the reason that so much funding was lost, or that's a substantial gap? Because that's my understanding, that you're asking for a different exemption due to a loss of funding. Is that correct?
So they replaced a taxable construction loan with tax exempt, resulting in a lower cost of capital for the project. So that it was previously a larger a taxable amount, but they are replacing that with a lower interest rate tax exempt bond piece, resulting in a cheaper cost of capital for the project. And as such, that increased the total tax exempt number, resulting in a higher not to exceed amount that was required.
I'm still trying to make sure that I'm getting this, because I know anything in housing is highly scrutinized. People are going to look at this as we were suddenly supporting one amount, now going to another. So what is the direct impact to the city? Is this a loan that they're taking from us, or only getting exemptions from us?
No, the city has no legal or financial responsibility with the repayment of any part of the bond issuance.
So we just have to approve that they have a change in their funding.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Terrific. Anybody else? All right. Well, I will
Move approval.
I will second that.
Okay, great.
Councilmember Harnick.
Yes.
Councilmember Moreno.
Yes.
Councilmember Nastandi.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Perdetto.
Yes.
And Mayor Truppi.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Terrific. I will now move on to item 15B, to reintroduce for first reading the Hillside Residential Design Standards and an ordinance amending Title 25 of the Palm Desert Municipal Code. Looking for the staff report.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Sihi Fernandez. I'm with the Development Services. Here, this item is a reintroduction of an ordinance for the first reading that updates the Hillside Design Standards, along with the related amendments to Title 25 of the Municipal Code. This is a city-initiated project that applies to properties within the Hillside Planned Residential District. The intent is to provide objective development standards to help streamline the process and provide clear standards. So a little bit of the timeline. This item has gone through multiple public meetings. It's gone to ARC and Planning Commission at a joint meeting back in September of last year. We also took it to Planning Commission for first reading back in December. This came to City Council for approval in January, and staff completed a final implementation of the review and identified opportunities to make some refinements, and address some internal code cross-references. This then went back to Planning Commission for reintroduction, and what you're seeing reflects the feedback and direction from City Council and Planning Commission. The focus of this update is to refine a few key areas dealing with the building pad sizes and building areas. Overall, the goal is to make these standards clearer, more consistent, and aligned with the direction provided. Looking at some of the key revisions, this table shows some of the development standards that were updated. They focus on adjusting the maximum building pad size, maximum building area, and cleaning up some of the code references to avoid any confusion. The intent is to make sure everything is clearly defined, easy to interpret, and consistently applied. Staff's recommendation is that City Council approve the ordinance, establish the hillside design standards, and adopt the amendments to the municipal code, and determine that the action is not subject to CEQA or alternatively exempt under section 15061B3. That concludes staff's presentation. Staff is available for questions.
Terrific. I will now open the public hearing. I have no blue cards. Are there any online comments?
No online comments.
All right. I will now close the public hearing and turn it over to my colleagues if there's any questions. All right. Jim. Councilmember Moreno.
None, thank you.
All right. I'll entertain a motion.
Moved.
Second.
I have a comment, if I may.
Oh, beg your pardon. I didn't mean to skip over that.
Yeah, thank you. And I know this has been a lot of work, and it's been quite the process, and I thank you for listening to everything and finding ways to integrate in the details that we've requested along the way, and thank you very much. And as I read through it, it was just nice to see those items integrated in. This is an extremely important document for Palm Desert going into the future. You know, when I look at the design standards approval process, it's so clear for somebody to be able to navigate. The checklist is equally clear. This is a great document, and it'll make it easy for anybody who wants to develop, who wants to build, and it will protect Palm Desert's hillside. So thank you very much for all the work you put into this. It's a great document. Thank you.
I agree. Does the motion still stand? All right. Very good.
Councilmember Harnick.
Yes.
Councilmember Moreno.
Yes.
Councilmember Nastandi.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Pradetto.
Yes.
And Mayor Trubin.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Terrific. Okay, well, that concludes the public hearing, and there being no further business, I do hereby adjourn the meeting at 5:28 p.m. Thank you very much.